We're very excited today. We're joined by Dany Charlery. He's a very special guest for me personally, so I'm excited to have him here. Thank you, Dany.
Anytime.
All right. Now, let me ask you this question. Where did you grow up, and what was your introduction to sport?
Well, I was born and raised in the island of St. Lucia in the Caribbean. Growing up, soccer was my first love. We call it football, but some parts of the world want to call it soccer. Cricket was a big thing for me as well, but never really touched basketball until I left St. Lucia.
How old were you when you left St. Lucia?
I was 13 when I left St. Lucia, going on 14.
And so you ended up in Montreal. What brought you to Montreal, and what was it like? Obviously, St. Lucia, very warm, sunny climate, and then you go to Montreal, fall 180, freezing, cold, totally different spot.
Yeah, definitely a 180. We don't have winters and snow and all that cold stuff in St. Lucia. I'm a hot-blooded person. I love my island life. But growing up, my mom just wanted a better life for us. And so she left when I was 4, and my sister was 5. She left St. Lucia, moved to Montreal for a job and to complete her academics. And she was sponsored by a couple here in Montreal. And then, almost 10 years later, decided to grab me and my sister to come join her and try to get a better life.
Well, obviously, that's what the dream of every parent is, to be able to bring their family to Canada. So you get to Montreal. What's it like getting acclimated to the situation here, the total differences? Give me a little rundown of what it was like.
Well, I mean, I was at the age where I'm trying to figure out who I am, what I want to do with my life. My body's changing, my mindset's changing. And then, hey, we're moving to Canada. So I had to do my research. Obviously, I get to Canada, I think it was like August 15, 95 or something like that. So I get there and I'm like, wow, it was just a culture shock for me, right? Because in St. Lucia, growing up, I'm around St. Lucians. I get to Montreal and it's just so multicultural, people from all over the globe. And then here I am with my mom, who I know she's my mom, but I haven't really seen her or got to know her for 10 years. I see her twice a year. And same with my sister, although my sister lived in St. Lucia with me, but we weren't like in the same household. We were about maybe a 30-minute drive apart. So here I am in a house with 2 people that they're my blood, but I have to learn about them. I have to get to know them all over again in depth. It's not like just a friendship. You know what I mean? But then, started school. We got tons of people from the islands, Jamaica, Trinidad, Grenada, name it. We got everyone in that high school. We get to winter time and I'm like, oh my God, this is snow. So I'm still tripping, right? This is like, I'm 13 going on 14. I'm like, what is this? Where am I? Like who I am. So everything had to just like get a reset to try to figure all this stuff out.
Yeah, no, it's got to be a major culture shock. So you get here. When does sports start playing a factor in your life? Like what's it like? Or is there sports for you right away? Have you been introduced to basketball yet? Kind of what's the deal there?
So luckily my mom had some good friends out there who basically just kind of invited us open arms, who also had kids my age, who then basically said, hey, I'm going to the park. Let's go play soccer. Let's go play basketball. Like just hang out as kids, right? And so I get there in August. I start playing soccer. September starts getting cold. October, November. So we don't have anywhere to play soccer. And we end up, hey, let's go to the gym. There's basketball. Obviously, I know what basketball is. I've watched it on TV back in St. Lucia growing up. I know who the Michael Jordans were at the time. And I also, a big part of my culture growing up, because my dad was a big fan of WWF. And so that side of things was a big part of my life as well, but picked up basketball just because I couldn't play football in the winter. And then everything kind of just took off from there.
Okay, well, something important. So you were a WWF guy. Who was your favorite wrestler?
I mean, the Big Hook is the man for sure. I got a couple of Ric Flair, Undertaker. There's so many, man. Like, I just remember, you know, growing up, I would be with my dad, would stay up till like 3, 4 in the morning watching WWF just because the time frame is just 4-hour difference, right? But yeah, those were like the good days growing up.
So basketball showed up because you needed to get out of the cold in the winter because there was no soccer. So now, what? Obviously, you're just getting started. Were you a natural? Did it pick up right away? Who were you playing with?
I mean, I personally think it came in naturally for me. You know, my entire family background, they're pretty athletic. And so picking up basketball, it was all I did. Night and day, I'll go to school, I'll study. Didn't have much to do. My mom would work. You know, my sister's at home or hanging out with the family. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go hang out with the boys. And it was just basketball. And so I noticed I was just getting better. I had, you know, a natural love for the game. Things came a lot easier. My footwork was really on point for the most part from what people were teaching me because of soccer. And just the lifestyle that I lived in St. Lucia as a youth, you know, being outdoors, just built my body and my flexibility to adapt easily to the game.
Yeah, you know, I think that's missing a lot from kids these days is the ability to have a wide variety of skills before they start playing basketball. You know, you need to have that flexibility. You need to have that footwork. You need to have some natural strength. You're obviously very, you know, nimble. It all adds to the portfolio. So you start playing basketball now. Is there high school basketball? Is there, you know, club basketball? Are you playing? Where are you playing? Outside in the park? What's the deal?
Yeah, so it first started just in a random open gym type of setting during the winter, and then once summer hit, I was just outdoor every day. And we just played street ball. We called it American or 21 at the time. And we got one basketball, and there's anywhere from 3 guys to 10, 12 guys playing. We didn't even want to play 5-on-5. We just wanted to go at it. One rim, one ball, first to 21, find a way to score kind of thing. And then that's where my creativity came in for the most part. And I was just there every day. I was learning from older guys, younger guys. I was learning from everyone, new tricks, getting in trouble with my mom because it's like, hey, you should be home. You need to go grocery shopping. You need to do all this. So my mom would tell me, hey, here's money. Go grocery shopping. I'll go play basketball first. I'll go grocery shopping. So, like, I would always find a way to go play ball before I had to do what I needed to do. That's just how bad it was at the time. Until I think I had a cousin of mine, I was probably 16 at the time, who came to visit from Boston. And I was supposed to drop her off at my house. And I basically gave her directions on how to get to my house. And ended up going to play ball. And so anyways, someone ended up calling my mom saying, you know, she was lost and find her. And so that's when kind of things kind of switched for me, where I had to be really careful with how I was going about playing basketball. But I started getting recognition. And then that's when everything kind of started in the high school setting and then club setting when I was about 15 going on 16.
So what was it like on your high school team? You guys have a good team? Did you pick up right away? Were you good right away? Like what? Give me a little rundown.
Yeah, so again, just shooting in the gym on little breaks between classes, always going in there and shooting. I knew we had a team, but I never thought I was good enough. until the coach came in and was like, hey, man, like, I've been watching you. You come in, you shoot, you play with the guys. I think you're pretty good. You should try out for the team. And I'm like, man, I don't know, man. I've seen you guys play. Like, I don't know if I'm at that level kind of thing. And I'm like maybe 5'10" at the time. So that same evening, I go try out. I think it was probably like 2 weeks of like intense tryouts. We're talking like wall sits, running, drills, playing one-on-one, like cardio, everything. But I loved it. I enjoyed it, right? Because I'm here with the boys. I'm learning a new sport. You know, I'm integrating myself. I'm networking. You know, I'm staying out of trouble, right? And then I ended up making the team, which was just a special year for me because towards the end of the year when awards came around, they had to make two decisions, whether giving me Defensive Player of the Year or Most Improved Player of the Year. And I ended up getting Most Improved Player of the Year, and we ended up winning that championship that year, which was, I think, was the first one in our school.
You won the Quebec, like the Quebec state or provincial championship, or what would you?
Provincial championship, but at our level. So, for example, there's AAA, quadruple A,
right,
AA. So we won our division. Yeah.
That's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
So you won Most Improved. So you clearly got better. Now, are you getting more refined in your skill? Or are you just getting more natural? You say you're in the gym all the time. What's that mean? Give me like a breakdown. I want kids to understand how much time we're talking about.
Well, when I'm in the gym all the time, we didn't really have a weight room. So it was more working on my skills, playing one-on-one a lot, playing 5-on-5, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, name it. Anytime we get a ball in our hand, we're just playing.
So like 5-10 hours a day kind of deal, like you're just in there?
Like hours, really, because there's nothing else to do. So it's school, study, basketball, maybe movies later on, home. And it was just this basic cycle. Yeah. And so anyways, I graduated I finished that year. And the following year, going into my grade 12, I ended up playing for Dawson Community College, which is kind of like a club AAU program. There's Sun Youth, there's Brookswood, there's so many different ones. But Dawson was the closest one to me. And I made the team, but we were deemed too good if we played for any of these club programs to play for the high school programs. So I had to make a decision. And again, I don't know if it's the right decision or if it was or wasn't. And I'm saying that because a few of the guys that I played with on my high school team ended up getting scholarships to go to the States. Whereas I ended up taking the route to play the club program, where I still got a lot of recognition, but it was mainly for the CIS system in Montreal.
So you end up playing in the CIS system. What school did you go to, and tell me about it?
So I ended up going to Vanier College. But again, that situation was a little different where I know I needed to kind of work just to be able to help the family or pay for my schooling to a certain extent. So I got recruited to try out for the AAA program. But I didn't feel like I was going to be able to give in the amount of dedication and time that the coach wanted. And because they had a AAA team and a AA team, I ended up trying out and making the AA team. Although I did try out for the AAA team, I was the last cut on that team. I think at the time, the coach didn't like the style of my play. I wasn't like the raw, intense kind of player, even though I felt like I was intense and I got what I needed to get done and more. But ended up, jumping on the AA program that season.
So, one of the things that, I always get in a fight with university coaches or high school coaches when they say a kid, maybe isn't intense. And it's like, some people are just more athletically gifted than the rest of us. And they're just smooth, right? Like, there's a kid, Cassandra Brown, me and Paul used to coach her, and she was just better than everybody. And she was trying as hard as she could. she was just smoother than everybody else. So it looked
Yeah.
like she wasn't trying, but like she was giving everything she had. She just, had a little gel to her. And so it's kind of interesting listening to stuff like that, because it's bothered me for a long time. But anyway, we'll move on. So you play on the AA at the same time you're working. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I was working a little bit. Yeah.
And you're getting educated at the same time. It's kind of, you're taking university courses in CJAP, right? That's essentially what that is.
Yeah, some courses would transfer, but it's kind of the in between. Advanced high school, intro to university, with some technical diplomas in there as well, or kind of like a BCIT setting as well, or Langara College, or that kind of stuff.
So did you go back and play a second year?
So I went back and play a second year for AA. Got recruited to play AAA, but I was just like so comfortable with my team, I decided to not move up. Ended up quitting basketball the third year for half a year, and came back in the January for half a year with the AA program. Ended up winning a championship with the AA program that year. And then, that was kind of basically my college career.
So what do you do after that? You're hanging out. What's going on? You working?
So after that, I'm still working. I stayed in school for a couple more months just to finish my HVAC engineering degree. And then while I'm doing that, I get a phone call for the university level to play ball. And that's kind of the next transition.
So who calls you?
So I get a phone call from Les Barry, who used to be the head coach at Brandon University in Manitoba for a season. Out of the blue, he calls me and was like, "Hey, Dany, I got your number from a good friend of yours. She said you're a pretty good basketball player. Would you be interested in playing CIS basketball for Brandon University?" And I'm like, I've never heard of Brandon. And at the time, I had some Division II offers that were interested, and I had kind of made my mind to go to a Division II school in Connecticut. But I think it came down to certain obligations that I had to deal with financially, and my mom was just like, we can't afford that. So I took the Brandon route.
So this coach, how long was he there for? He convinced you to go to Brandon. You sight unseen, you go take a visit. What's the deal there?
I didn't take a visit when he called me. So the year went by. He only coached for a year. So then he moves on to Arcadia. And then I get a phone call from Barnaby Craddock, who's the new coach coming in. And he goes, "Hey, Dany, I noticed you're on the recruiting list. I did my research. I've heard quite a bit about you. I'm going to come to Montreal. And Andy Herzog, who's the AAA coach at Vanier, is going to run an open gym with special invites. I need you to be there because I'm going to be there. I want to come see you play. And then we could finalize, what we're doing." This is kind of his recruiting trip. And so everything gets organized. I'm like, yeah, I'm still interested. I'll put this date down. I'll show up. It'll be great to meet you. And then we can go from there.
And so how'd that go? What happened?
Yeah, so he shows up. I walk in the gym. And I'm nonchalant, right? Like I don't stress too much about things. I'm fairly relaxed with kind of how I approach life. So I walk in the gym and he's kind of sitting there. I've never seen a picture of him. I don't know what he looks like. I'm like, okay, well, I'm sure he knows who I am because he said he did his research. So he'll introduce himself to me, or like I'll just walk up to people and just, that I don't know and say what's up. So I get in the gym. Everyone's already kind of walking in as well and saying what's up to the guys. We're getting ready. We're getting warmed up. And so he doesn't say anything to me. He's just kind of sitting down there talking to coaches. And I kind of assumed it was him. So anyways, we start playing 5-on-5. And he's just kind of taking his notes and doing his scouting. And I'm playing and like, I'm having like an awesome game, right? Like I'm hitting my shots. I'm getting to the rim. I'm playing D. I'm playing team basketball. Like I felt good. You know what I mean? Because I had my mindset, hey, like I'm going in there to prove something. And it's part of it is because I played double A at Vanier, and I'm playing against guys who played triple A, right? And that was a big thing for me to prove to these guys that just because I'm playing double A doesn't mean I'm not good enough to play triple A or that I'm not better than you at so many different aspects of the game. And so, you know, I walked by him one couple times, go for water throughout the evening. And after everything was kind of said and done, he came, introduced himself. You know, we threw in a couple of jokes in there. He kind of talked about things that he noticed and that he really liked. And then basically just told me, hey, like, you got a spot. Like, it's all yours. No one else is going to kind of take it from you. It was almost like he was saying, hey, you can start if you really want to have it. And I was like, okay, I'll take it, kind of thing. And while we were there playing, he also picked up Nathan Grant and Stevens Marcelin from Montreal as well. So it was cool to have, you know, some of the locals join me for our academics and sports.
So you go to Brandon. That's got to be a culture shock going to Brandon.
So Brandon was another culture shock. So here I am. I go from St. Lucia to Montreal. And now I'm leaving Montreal a couple of years later. I'm going to Brandon. Never got to visit, right? I just heard so many different stories about Brandon and just the basketball culture and how great it was. You know, the famous Jerry Hemmings and some stories kind of thing, and how cold Brandon can be. And, you know, it's just a couple hours drive from Winnipeg. And I was like, hey, you know what? Why not? And so September shows up, jump on a flight, take a couple of bags with me, and on my way to Brandon.
So how's your team in first year?
So first year with Barnaby, we got a couple returners. We got a stud point guard, a stud big man, and then just, you know, just big time players that are trying to earn minutes and get better around these guys with a first year coach. And it was probably by far my best season, you know, even though throughout my career a lot of things happened. But we were in almost every game. We'd win one, lose one, win one, lose one, win one, lose one. Kind of like the recipe of a young team, really. And we ended up finishing the season 50-50. But before that season ended, we went to UVic. We had a doubleheader against UVic. And we beat them the first night. And it was kind of like a statement win for us because we're like, guys, we can be very good. And so we beat them the first night. Second night, we're in a tight ball game. We're going. I think we're up. Either we're tied or we up one with like a couple seconds left. And they got this dude. His name is Trumpy, lefty. And coach is yelling, don't let him catch, don't let him catch. And we're yelling, don't let him catch. We're trying to get, you know, our teammate to push up and try to deny him the ball. But I don't think he heard, or if he did. But anyways, Trumpy catches the ball. And Trumpy goes full court with his left hand, take a little left, right, single hand three behind the 3-point line, and then catch. At the buzzer, crowd goes crazy. We end up losing. And that was kind of a heartbreaker because we all thought, hey, we can like actually sweep this team. And you know, it was kind of like a big loss for us because we're making a push to try to make playoffs. I think we ended up making playoffs, but we just wanted a better seeding. But you know, we end up going to playoffs, losing against Regina, I believe, and then the second year was a whole different story.
So yeah, Trumpy was a real deal. I think UVic still hasn't replaced him, to be honest with you. It's been 10 years. I'm still waiting on a guy like that. I mean, he took him to the final. He was a real deal, that guy. I mean, he was good. I remember him.
He was a real deal. Yeah, no, I totally have respect for his game. There's a lot of guys that have respect for the games. Some guys, although I respect them, you know, it is what it is.
So while you're there, you know, I'm familiar with your story. So I know that you started figuring out weight training was the thing, and you had a coach that was kind of pushing you to get better in the gym. Talk a little bit about that.
So I actually started lifting a little bit my second year, but it wasn't too intense until my third year. We had an assistant coach, Mike Woolard, who, he came from North Dakota. He's actually from Saskatchewan. And then he was part of our coaching staff. And his big thing was like, hey, like, we need to get you in the weight room, man. Like, we don't want guys pushing you around, although you can still score. But, like, we need you to, like, shoulder a few guys and be able to dunk even easier and get fouled, get more and ones and whatnot. And so he would show up at my house every morning that we needed to lift at, like, 6 a.m. And it was like, yo, let's go, weight room time. And it's like, oh, my God, dude. Like, what's going on here? Like, I don't need to lift. Early on, I'm like, I don't need to lift. I'm fine. I'm scoring 20 points a game here. What do you need from me? And so I'm always open, to try new things and learning and adding, more things to my repertoire. And so I'm like, yeah, sure, let's do the weight room. So I go to the weight room, and within like 2 weeks, I'm like, wow, I'm dunking easier. I'm going through contact easier. Like, I'm just bullying guys around a little bit. My defense is getting better. So everything just moved on to a next level. And so I put on a couple pounds of muscle that year. And I think we ended up finishing the season 21-1, which was the same record we had my second year as well. But this was a lot easier because I was a lot stronger. And just because of that weight room aspect, which is a huge difference.
Yeah, it's funny because we've been talking. I've been doing a lot of these, and I think one of the biggest things people, if they could go back in time, they would do is they would start training lifting a little bit earlier and younger, and kind of get more focused.
Absolutely.
Get themselves on the right track, and it's a big deal. And I think when you start doing it, it's usually too late, but then you figure it out, and then you start, like you said, bullying people out there, getting to your spots a little easier. Your legs don't get as tired, the shots don't go short at the end of the game, all that sort of thing, and it's just a huge deal. The other thing I've gotten from you in this is you got to spend a lot of time in the gym, right? Like, a lot of people are not spending enough time in the gym, and I think if you spend that time in the gym, eventually it's just all going to have to work out, and so I think that's a big deal for people. So you finish up your career in your last 2 years. Tell me, give me a quick rundown of what happens.
Just to roll back to the in the gym timing, where I thought I should have been in the gym a lot more than I was at the university level. But again, that's just a different story. So my third and fourth year, so during my 5-year career at Brandon, I had 3 different coaches. So I had Barnaby for 2 years, my first year and my second year, where we went to the national finals my second year. Then Barnaby moved on to UFV. Then Mike Rainbow, who was my assistant the first 2 years, took over as the head coach. We get the same record. We don't make nationals. We lose in Final Four. My fourth and fifth year, we get Keith Vassell, who's a Brennan alum. He then takes over for those 2 years. And although I learned a lot from all these 3 coaches, I don't know if my fourth year, if I was able to improve as much as I wanted, because I feel like I never was able to reach like a level of my game where I was like, wow, like I'm pretty good kind of thing. Because my mindset was trying to get better so much that I just wasn't able to get to where I wanted to get to in terms of improvement. And I don't know why. I was in the gym, maybe not as much as I should have been. But those 2 years were a real kind of struggle for me, just because I was trying to adjust to a third coach, a new system, different style of players. Because I felt like Barnaby and Rainbow had very similar interests in the kind of players they were looking for. And here I am with a new coach that's trying to build a new culture. And I'm trying to like figure it out while he's trying to figure it out. So those 2 years were somewhat difficult for me, but I love the game so much, and I love the guys I was playing with, so that made things a lot easier to accept.
So let's quick rewind to your second year. You guys end up going to the national final. Talk about that journey, making it to nationals, and then what it was like going all the way to the last game.
Yeah, so I touched on that game against UVic where Trumpy beat us with that lefty, and so after that game we kind of talked and was like, hey, well, guys, we can be really good if we all come back next year and we get some additions. So we get some additions the second year, and like we were just itching to play. And we just kind of took off. I think we lost maybe the second game of the year to Winnipeg, probably by 1. And then I don't think we lost the game until later on in the season or in playoffs. I think we lost we had already clinched nationals, and we ended up losing to UBC. But throughout that entire year, things were just clicking for us, right? And that's when I started going into weight room, not as intense as the third year, but started going to a weight room. I was skipping a lot more, doing a lot more push-ups, just a lot of body stuff as well. Year was going well. We're gelling. We're winning. We're blowing out teams. We're playing the tough teams. We're going to teams' houses and getting W's that we'd never gotten my first year, kind of thing. And then here we are. We make nationals. Everyone's going nuts. And I remember when I got recruited to Brandon, I was watching the CIS finals. And it was like Carlton against someone else. And I'm like, man, I got to be there one day, kind of thing. Knowing that I'm going to Brandon, I'm like, I got to be there. So here I am my second year, and I'm going to nationals. And so we get there, and I'm like, man, I need to keep my body right. So I'm hydrating, I'm stretching, just resting, staying focused. Play our first game. We get the win. Play our second game. We get another tough win, and we're going to the finals. So we're watching Carlton, and everyone's like, yo, we can beat this team. And we have no doubt that we can beat these guys. But we know at the back of our head that they're 4-time champ, like 4 in a row. And we're like, we can't let them get the 5th one. So we're still gelling. We're still staying focused. We get to the game. We're playing. And it was weird because at halftime, it was like 25, 26 or something. Like, it was super low scoring, right? The game ended up finishing under 50 or just around there. So it was really unlike both teams to have to score such low points in a season. But I think guys were so engaged, especially defensively, that it just made scoring so much more difficult and made the game so much more interesting. But we had an amazing season. I think a couple of things go our way. We get a ring, but obviously it went the other way. And just looking back, you think about these possessions that you probably should have taken a shot or should have helped defensively or should have done certain things, but obviously there's nothing you can do. So I've accepted it. It is what it is.
For sure. So while you're playing in your career, you won a bunch of accolades. Do you remember a couple of them?
Throughout my career, I got All-Canadian, first team All-Stars. Just a lot of team stuff in terms of like most improved, MVP.
What did you graduate with?
So I graduated with essentially a Bachelor of Arts, but because I decided to take courses in so many different areas, they called it a Bachelor of Distributed Arts, with a minor in French and a minor in Business Administration.
Very cool. Well, it's good because you get a whole bunch of different options. So you finish up your career. What ends up happening then?
So I finished my career. Playing pro was in the back of my mind, but it wasn't really something I wanted to attain. It wasn't really something I was pushing for because I didn't know much about it. And although I thought certain people would help me just, communicate that stuff with me, I didn't get the help that I felt I was asking for or needed. So I ended up going back to Montreal, trying to figure out what I want to do, looking for jobs, whatnot. So I get a phone call from Mike Woolard, who was my assistant coach my third year, who introduced me to an advanced level of the weight room kind of thing. And so I'm like, dude, he calls me up. He goes, I just got this head coaching job at Quest University in Squamish, coaching women. And I'm like, first of all, I don't know what Quest is. I've never heard of Squamish, BC. Like, I've never coached before, so I don't know what you're seeing here. I think you'll be fine coaching. Coaching's not for me. And he goes, man, I've been trying to get a hold of you for 3 months, man. Like, I need you to come help me out. Like, you will like this. I know you can help me out. All you got to do is teach what you know. And I'm like, all right, man, let me think about it. So here I am, 2-3 days. I'm thinking about it. I talked to my mom the same night. And I'm like, what am I doing in Montreal? Like, I haven't gotten a job yet. Yeah, I love being home. My mom, my sister, my friends. I still haven't gotten a job yet. So let me just try this. If it doesn't work out, I come back home. No problem. So I think in like 3 days, I called him back. I'm like, yeah, tell me all the details. I need a full-time job because assistant coaching is not going to pay you anything. And I'll come. So that being said, I think a week later, I took my flight and I showed up in Squamish at Quest as his assistant. And then that's kind of where the coaching career took its
another culture shock. What a difference. So you're like holy folks.
Correct.
So you're in Squamish. You're literally in the middle of nowhere. Back then, nobody really lived in Squamish. The brand new university, but a gorgeous place, like a picturesque, beautiful. So much potential to be fantastic. Anyway, so you get there, you're an assistant coach, your team's pretty good. Give me a little rundown of what it's like to be a coach for the first time.
Yeah, so I get there and I'm like, wow. Like you just mentioned, the campus beautiful, the philosophy of the school is something so unique, right? So I sit with Mike, we talk about the year, the recruits, I meet everyone, we get into practice, he's running stuff. And a lot of it is stuff that as a player I was already doing, so I know it. But just, learning all the terminologies and like trying to get players to understand what we're doing, helping them out just because I've been through it. So again, it was just me teaching what I know and talking about the experience that I've had as a student athletes in their position and trying to understand what they're seeing, how they're seeing things, and teaching them or giving them clues as to what I would see in those positions. So that's kind of how I started with just building my coaching philosophy and helping Mike, even with recruiting and doing individual sessions with the players. And that year, I think we made playoffs. I don't think we accomplished what we wanted just because we had the right players, I think, to go a little further. But then again, first year coach, first year team, it's kind of hard to try to go all the way.
So anyway, you start coaching. Me and you actually get to meet. We're coaching together, a summer club team. Another year goes by. You've never really had coached, and you decide you're gonna. Mike's not there anymore. They say, "Hey, we need you to interview for the job." Tell me what's going through your head when that situation comes up.
So I'm walking in the gym, my second year at the end of the season as an assistant coach, and Mike comes out. He goes, "Hey, we got to talk." And I'm like, "You're all right, man," because he's kind of off a little bit. So he's like, "Yo, I just got, things are not kind of working out here at Quest, blah blah blah. It's time to move on." And I'm like, "Whoa, okay." So immediately I'm like, "Wow, interesting." So, we talk, then I get a phone call from some of the players. They're like, "Hey, coach, like, we want you to apply for the job. We'd love for you to coach us. We don't want too much of a change, blah, 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 blah." So I throw in my resume, right? I apply for the job. And then I get the phone call, I think, when I was with you in in Victoria at Spectrum.
I still remember we're at Spectrum. So we're at Spectrum. Yeah.
I think I had already done the interview. So it was more of a phone call, just, basically of them offering me a position. And I remember talking to you about it. I was like, yo, they just called me to offer me the position. I think this is like something I never envisioned. So, what do I do? Do you remember what your first words were?
I said, fuck, you need some experienced head coaches.
Yeah, and so then you ended up letting me coach those games that weekend. And yeah, I just basically just changed my mindset and took off from there too.
And so what your team did take off. They actually literally took off. You started winning. You had an undefeated season. What a difference, kicked in. Talk about what it was like to, go to nationals and have such good teams when you were there.
Right. So yeah, I took over. Everyone returned that first year, made playoffs. I think we lost first round. Second year, made some additions. And we had like a solid year. We kind of beat every team. And then, one or two games we kind of lost here and there. But we knew we were strong enough to win. And I'm not sure what it was. We made some little tweaks for playoffs. We had a sports psych team meeting, which kind of revealed a lot of just mental toughness issues and how some players were scared of certain teams. And although they would be up by 10 with 2 minutes left, they would still think they'll lose and somehow would still lose, kind of thing. And so those mental blocks, somehow we just cleared it out of the way with that meeting. So we go into playoffs, and then just like, I've never seen us play that well in playoffs to win our first championship. So we go to nationals, and nationals is now in Montreal, where I'm from, where, my family's gonna come watch games, my friends, and I'm playing against coaches who taught me growing up in Montreal. So that was extremely special. We even had a young lady, Miriam Bowman, who was from Montreal in our program. So for her, that was even more special to make nationals in the hometown. So we get there, and the competition is just different. You're playing stronger, better, faster older players for sure. Although we have some in the PacWest, but it's not the entire team. Do you know what I mean? And, we're competing. I don't think we lose any game by more than 12, I would think. First one we lost by 12. Second one, I think, in overtime. I can't even remember. But competition was a lot different. We still competed. Miriam gets a concussion the second quarter of the first game. That changed everything for us. So here we are just like scrambling for that game to kind of get the right people in. So we lose a tough one. She has a concussion. She can't play for the rest of the tournament, or when people have to step up. So that kind of took a toll on us. So we lose the second one. I'm like, hey, guys, we got to leave here with a win. So we're playing the home team, Champlain, and I'm going against George is another big coach that I respect, who's taught me so much about the game. And even I used to play against him and with him in street ball. And we're just going at it as coaches. And I think we go into like 1 or 2 overtimes. And he edged us by like 2 or 3 points. But I wanted to get that win so bad. But no, nationals was just a fantastic experience. Not only for me as a coach to kind of see where I need my team to be to try to win a national championship. I just basically try to take just that experience as a learning experience to build the program to an even better program than it was.
You have another year. You have one more year, correct?
So, we get the second year is when we went undefeated and go to nationals, but that was at VIU. I think we bumped into Lethbridge And Lethbridge had like stellar of a team. They had this young lady who just like she was on a mission, and she just took off on us, and we didn't really have an answer for her.
So you end up doing really well. The problem is the university ends up canceling sports at your place. You're a little bit, you kind of get blindsided by it. What do you end up doing afterwards, and what makes you think that was the right decision?
So yeah, they cut the program, February 2018. So we have end of February into March trying to make playoffs. And it's like, what do I tell my players? Like, how do we figure this out as a team to still work out, have practices, make playoffs and go compete for a university that just basically just said, hey, you guys are not important to us. We're cutting you guys out. We just kind of basically played for each other, played for the alumni that was before us, and kind of cut everything else out that represented the university. So here I am. They offered me a position to stay at Quest and kind of run the gym facility as like just a rec facility in a sense, and invite the community to come up. So I accept the position, but I'm like still trying to figure out what I want to do. And at the same time, I'm coaching with DK for like the third or second season now kind of thing. So we go to Cali, we travel all around the States, we play so many games, and I'm still processing, right? And then, the opportunity to work with you.
Yeah, I think you had a little bit of post-traumatic stress disorder, but like leaving a war, like you were attached to something, and then it's just like it's over right away, and it's like,
correct.
What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
So I think it was a good distraction for you when you did a bunch of things, and it's been good.
Yeah, totally.
So now let's get back to let's see if we can help some kids. Are you a big goal guy? Do you write stuff down?
I do write stuff down, yes.
What are you writing down? What type of goals are you setting? How do you do them? What type of stuff like that?
I mean, for me growing up, I've always tried to challenge myself, although, there's a lot of people I look up to. And there's a lot of goals that I want to achieve, as a player, as a coach, as a man. I'll write that stuff down and sometimes put different steps on how to get to it. And I've been fairly lucky to achieve a lot of those things. I just think once you write things down, it just feels more real than not even writing it down or just thinking about it. And then you just apply yourself to it. You apply, the steps that you want, that you've written down. And before you even know it, you achieve those things.
Yeah, no, I think it's huge. I think it's one of the things that's led to your success is your ability to write stuff down and really focus on the things that you've written down. I think it's a huge thing for you, and I think other people need to pick it up, to be honest with you. If you go back in time and give younger, because you're still young, younger Dany Charlery some advice, what would you tell him?
Just take every opportunity you get. If it's attached to things that you love, put in the work. Obviously, there are certain things you have to do in order to be able to have these, activities that you want to be part of. So for example, you want to be part of a program or basketball team, academics come right in there, right? The hard work that comes right in there. If I had to go back, would I be in the weight room a lot more? Absolutely, right? Because that changed my game. But I was just convinced everyone to, hey, just put in the work. You never know where it's going to take you. Try to improve your game. Take advice from people. You don't have to accept it, but listen and try it.
Find the right fit too. I think for you, finding the right fit would be a huge one. Like we just talked with Randy Norton, and he either had spectacular seasons or terrible seasons. And it was when he was given the opportunity to be himself, he was spectacular. And people tried capping him all the time, and then so he wasn't spectacular. So finding opportunities where you can actually show off your skills is nice.
Yeah, I think that's huge to find the proper coach or individuals that will allow you to just achieve those things by you being yourself, for sure.
Yeah. you know, and then so like if you were to give, let's say you were to get another shot at coaching a university team, what would be, you know, what are the two core principles you would kind of bring in to make sure that they got done?
Oh man, I think, I mean, there's so many things, but I think just building a culture. The first one was building a culture that would accept everyone, whatever their skill sets are, wherever they're from, and just try to put that into a system the best that we can. And the second one is just, you know, doing whatever it takes to represent everyone that's part of that culture. And those, you know, it encompasses so many little things, but those are the two biggest things, I think.
It's huge. Well, listen, it's been awesome coaching with you. Honestly, I enjoy it lots. We do a lot of fun stuff, and I'm excited to see, you know, the next journey we'll continue. You know, one day we're going to get out of the house from this COVID thing, and we're going to get back to normal. And I'm excited to see it. So we'll see you soon.
All right.